Hello, my dear friends. Interesting one today. There's a guy in America, and his name's Sean Graham, and he has set himself the interesting task of trying to review all of my solo and collaborations and the church, I believe, on YouTube.
You are watching The Steve Kilbey Show with Sean Graham.
Welcome back to another episode of The Steve Kilbey Show. I am your host, Sean, and we're finishing up the last of the 80s church albums on this part of the series. And let's spin that wheel. We've only got two left, Blurred Crusade or Starfish, two fan favorites, critic favorites. Always highly, highly, highly ranked in the church fans and critics' rankings of church and Steve Kilbey stuff. So let's see. Oh, Blurred Crusade. Perfect. That's perfect. All right, I got lucky there with that spin because there's only two titles left. So the good news is we'll cover Blurred Crusade today. Love that. And then the next episode's going to be Starfish. Probably won't spin the wheel for that since that's all that's left, which is good because we're going to have a little change of scenery for that, I think. Blurred Crusade. Let's talk about that first. Came out in 1982. Scoot up here, sorry. February 1982, Blurred Crusade, out in Australia, February 1982. A couple things that I find interesting about this album. One is that the American label that represented them at the time, Capitol, declined to release this in the States because they didn't find it to be commercially viable. And they didn't think there were enough singles. They kind of were like, go back to the drawing board and give us more singles. I think that anybody who knows this album would agree that Capitol Records is a bunch of fucking morons. At least who was listening to this album at the time. It's baffling, especially noting now how popular this album is and how loved it kind of is. And I feel like if you don't know the church's music, or if you were giving a friend a church album, this would be a very good one to start with, I think, because there are, what I would say, are quite a few radio-friendly hits on this song, as well as that classic sort of church psychedelic, shredding guitars, thumping bass, cool and sort of strange lyrics that take you on a little bit of a musical journey and a lyrical journey. It's all here in Blurred Crusade, honing in the craft that they had, put together in Of Skins and Heart. So, without further ado, get excited because I do not own a copy of this either. There's a reissue on vinyl, some of those reissues I have that have the color vinyl that I keep meaning to pick up, Blurred Crusade. I would also kind of like to have an original copy of this on vinyl, maybe the Australian release. I might look for that. But there is a blue vinyl version that came out a couple years ago, maybe last year actually, 2025, and I do want to pick that up. There's also it's very expensive. I feel like it's hard to find for $50 or less. A 2-disc re-release that, ironically enough, was released in the States. 2002, I think that came out. So because I don't have it, we're just going to go with this. That's right. Who drew this, you wonder? A child, you probably say? No, I drew that. I drew that beautiful piece of art. So here you go on the back. I even made my own little cover here. It says illustration by Sean Graham based on the original Paul Patty's artwork for Blurred Crusade. I feel like it's quite an iconic cover that I've now made look kind of shitty. Not intentionally. It's just I'm not a good artist. So this is it. Blurred Crusade. You got the Crusaders there and the bird and the black background. Blurred Crusade is a fantastic album. Again, I feel like if I was, through all of this, if I was going to point somebody to one of their albums to listen to, Blurred Crusade would probably be, it might be the first one I'd recommend. I guess it depends on the person asking, but Blurred Crusade would quite possibly be at the top of my list to pass along to somebody because I feel like it is accessible, but also not accessible with some of these tracks. But it's great. It consists of, I know you all know this one well, but Almost With You, When You Were Mine, A Field of Mars, an interlude, Secret Corners. That's our side, as it's labeled on the vinyl. And then their side, the B-side, is Just For You, A Fire Burns, To Be In Your Eyes, You Took and Don't Look Back. Those are the original songs on this release from 1982. The 2002 re-release on CD came with a few bonus tracks, one of which is an all-time favorite of mine, Life Speeds Up, The Golden Dawn, and a short film, The Blurred Crusade, which I meant to watch, actually. I don't think I've ever seen that, so I sort of, I'm sure I could find it online, but I kind of want to wait till I pick up a CD. I know that's probably lame, but Life Speeds Up is so good. And so Life Speeds Up, the B-side, to the first single, Almost With You, which was a very high charting single for the church at the time. Not as high as Unguarded Moment, I don't think, but Almost With You, maybe I might be wrong about that, but Almost With You was a very big hit for the band, for sure. And I would argue, and I'd be curious on your thoughts, that there is no better opening 4 songs than these 4 songs back to back to back to back. Almost With You, When You Were Mine, Field of Mars, and Interlude is such a great fucking opening, in my opinion. It's probably my top five favorite opening tracks. On a church album, I would say probably my top right now off the top of my head. I just think all 4 of those are so good, and I can imagine myself being an intern at Capitol Records listening to this going, this is so good, and trying very desperately to convince the bosses that you should listen to this. You should open up your ears and listen to this. I mean, When You Were Mine, which was not as big of a hit as Almost With You, is a bit baffling to me anyway, because I like When You Were Mine way more. It's got everything you want from a church song, I think. It's got, psychedelic riffs. It's got a great rhythm. Love the lyrics. It's pretty straightforward. It's a pretty tough little banger, and for me, it works better in a lot of ways than Almost With You. I like When You Were Mine a lot better because I think when they're in concert, they extend this out and jam it even more, which sounds great to me. Hopefully, we get to see that on the upcoming tour. But I also, I think in a perfect world, if I was choosing the set list, I would love for them to open with Life Speeds Up, the whole show. Open it with Life Speeds Up. Somewhere in the middle, spring in When You Were Mine. And at the end, you took, I think those are 3 nice little bookends and a sort of interlude piece, although I guess an interlude would be more appropriate in the middle. But all those songs are so good. So 1982, it's a big year. They're coming off of the big hit from Of Skins and Heart, which everybody knows. The Unguarded Moment. They go on tour. They get booked on tour when they go to UK to tour with Duran Duran. And that doesn't go so well. Steve Kilbey thinks it's not a good mix because there's something in his book I think he talked about it was like the best response they ever got during that tour, short-lived tour with Duran Duran in the UK, was when I think Marty goes to his guitar breaks, he leaves the stage, and the crowd cheers, saying something. He's saying that it sounded as if they were like 3 down or 1 down, just 3 more to go, get off the stage till we can hear Duran Duran, which I always liked. So they leave the tour. Steve Kilbey makes the decision, like, this is not good. It's not the right fit for us. Let's leave. So they abandoned that, and during, and they actually released this EP a little bit later in November called Temperature Drop in Downtown Winterland. And this was meant to go on them with the tour and be sold there. It includes The Unguarded Moment, the all-time big hit, Sisters, which is a song I love, an interlude, also an all-time great, and The Golden Dawn. The Golden Dawn is a bonus track later on the CD. It was also on Hindsight. It's an instrumental piece that I really like. I know we've talked about that already. But what I also like on that is that they have the tour dates. So if you pick up this actual EP, it has all these tour dates, which started in November 1st, in fact, 1982. They only made it through, I think, 5 shows. Yeah, 5 and 6. I think 6. And after the Manchester gig, they bailed. So that came out kind of with the tour, which I thought that was interesting. And then, I think they had recorded some more songs as radio-friendly songs to kind of present to Capitol Records. So they put out Sing Songs in December of 1982, which, again, I feel like these are all very connected. The Blurred Crusade, none of which I have, as you can see, Temperature Drop in Downtown Winterland, and, of course, Sing Songs, which is December of 1982. This came out early December 1982, right before your host was born. So a little bit of history about me there. So this had 5 songs: A Different Man, Ancient History, The Night Is Very Soft, In This Room, I Am a Rock. What's funny to me about this is I don't particularly like most of these songs. One of these songs I really like. The other four are okay. The Paul Simon cover, I Am a Rock, is kind of strange. It feels very odd to me to hear them covering a Paul Simon song. And I don't love it. I just don't love it. I don't really, A Different Man's okay. That pops up on the Deep in the Shallows collection that comes out much later, probably 20 years ago now. In fact, maybe 15 years ago. But if you wanted to hear A Different Man on CD, you can get that on the Deep in the Shallows single. Ancient History, I think, was only released here, but I could be wrong. The Night is Very Soft is the one song from this I really do like. I think it's a great song. Pops up on Hindsight, which we already talked about. In This Room, is not, for me, not great. But also, it's just middle of the road. And then Temperature in Winterland. Temperature Drop in Downtown Winterland is great, but it's, 4 songs that I think everybody knows pretty well. And again, there's the back. And I think the best thing about this to me is that you get the tour dates printed. So I really like Blurred Crusade because I feel like different than Of Skins and Heart. They're sort of ramping up on that sort of momentum that they, as a band, that they sort of have pulled into their live shows, and you feel it more on Blurred Crusade. You Took an Interlude are band compositions, and those are great songs. I bet an Interlude, I don't actually remember if I've seen that live, but definitely You Took, I think I talked about it being a pretty transcendent experience last time I saw it. I think it's a great song. Really highlights the strong points of what the church music does, in my opinion. But it's so good. And Field of Mars is great. I don't see a lot of people talking about it. Not that I'm looking very, very far to see people talking about Field of Mars, but Field of Mars is really great, co-written by Steve and Marty sings it. I love it. I think it's a beautiful little song, and it's a nice break on this album. That's partly why I like this record so much. I feel like there's a really good flow with these songs. I would love to know why Life Speeds Up, and even The Golden Dawn, for that matter, the 2 sort of bonus tracks that come out later, weren't actually included on this. They cut it from what could have been 12 songs, and it still would have been a great record, down to 10 songs. I would argue that Life Speeds Up and The Golden Dawn, could replace like Secret Corners or Don't Look Back, both songs which I do really like, but I like Life Speeds Up and The Golden Dawn more. I would plug those into the original record differently. I'm curious on your thoughts. I know everybody's got thoughts on this album. I think it's so strong, and it gets me excited to see them on tour coming up very soon. What day is today? It's the 25th of May. We're a very short amount of time away from the church's upcoming North American tour 1996, the singles tour from 1980 to 2025. You can see there's some sold out dates there. Solana Beach, California, the 2 Phoenix shows. I'll be at those. You got low tickets for Boston, low tickets for Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. What is that? Oh, the North Carolina show. Is that North Carolina? Yeah. Show is sold out, so you can't go to that. But I'll be at quite a few of these shows, so if you're going to be there, look for me. I'll be at the LA show as well. Very excited about that. Excited to hear some of these songs, hopefully from Blurred Crusade. This video is a blur in my mind. I love Life of Mars. I love Life Speeds Up. It's time, I think, for me to have some caffeine. Here is my Kilbey leaderboard for the day. All right, so can't really see it, but at the top right now we've got Heyday, we got Hypnagogue, Aerosita Zeta, Kilby Kennedy box set, and the most recent Kilby Kennedy, Things We Did on Earth, which, to be completely honest, I might move up a spot because I really can't stop listening to it. Steve was just talking about it on one of his latest posts, and he was reading some review that he really liked in the Spanish news, and that got me excited because I love that it's kind of all over and people are giving it good reviews. It's really hard to find something better. Blurred Crusade, get that close for you. Where is it going to rank on the old Kilby Kennedy board? Well, I'm sure based on my enthusiasm, you're going to know kind of where it sits, but pretty easy one for me. I love this album, so it's going to go right there at the top. And we got the rest of these kind of popping in there. And, all the way down. So it's very, very good. I was thinking about this over the last weekend because I was listening to a lot of Steve's solo stuff and thinking, I haven't reviewed enough of that. So for sure, next is Starfish. Look forward to that. We're going to dive into that a little deep and maybe have a little fun with that one. And then we're going to start something, we're going to freshen it up again, and I think we're going to put a bunch of his collaboration teams as well as, we'll do a Church, a Steve Kilbey wheel, and then we'll have a bunch of the collaboration stuff on here, like GB3, Isidore, stuff like that we can kind of fake maybe, things like that we can talk about to kind of mix it up. Steve Kilbey solo for sure, though, needs to happen. So, all the love to everybody out there. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. And we'll be back soon with another episode.